Hello, I'm Nicole. I'm the Cottage Witch, and today I'm doing the end of year book tag with tarot for fun because I know Chanel of Chanel Days has adapted this for tarot, and so it's got more tarot specific questions, and I just don't have the time or the energy to do two different tags, so I'm doing a mashup. It's gonna have to do. The first question is, are there any books you started this year that you need to finish? I mean, there are books that I started this year. Am I gonna finish them? Like Ulysses, I'm not gonna finish because that's a long, slow project. Madame Bovary, I'm not gonna finish because it's in French and I'm slow. I think there's something else I started reading that I'm not gonna finish. Anyway. That's what next year's for. It's fine. There's not a real deadline at the end of the year. It's just an imaginary one. Number 2, do you have any autumnal book to... Oh, sorry. Do you have an autumnal book to transition into the end of the year? No. And I don't do anything really specific except maybe reading darker books, like more mystery thriller type books, which I've done a lot of in the last month. I do, on the tarot front, have, where did I put them? Oh, here they are. I have stacks of books next to me. I've had out the Gothic Tarot, which is fun. It never shows up very well because it's so dark, but it's great for this time of year. So I've been using this a lot this month. And then the other deck I've been using a lot is the Tarot des Paysages Intérieurs, which is the tarot of interior landscapes, which is very, I mean, the artist is French. I think these are all oil paintings, if I recall from her Instagram and the Etsy post. But they're very Saskatchewan, like prairies in the winter to me, with the gray skies and the wide open spaces. Like the ground is greener there than it would be in the winter, but it still gives the, like, this feels like Saskatchewan in the winter. And I'm in Alberta these days, but I'm sort of from both prairie provinces, not Manitoba, sorry Manitoba. So I've been using these a lot. The only other thing I do in the sort of fall to winter transition, tarot-wise, is I break out the what's it called? Tarot of the Abyss. I've done, I think this will be the 3rd year I've used this in the winter, and it's very much my spirit of winter sort of deck. And I use it a lot, and I got just this year, so I used it like twice so far this winter, but I got the Wisdom of the Kalia by Jane Bridson. It's funny, you have to like message her on Instagram or Facebook and get on her waiting list because she only does a limited print run every year or two, so you can get it from her. It's not like it's impossible to get it, it's just you have to get on the list, and it's only available at specific times. And you don't know ahead of time because it just depends on what's going on in her life, but these are just beautiful. And yeah, so that's so I have more of a fall to winter transition for tarot than I do for books. Books I just sort of mood read. And if I'm in a darker, wintry mood, I may read darker books, but not necessarily. I mean, Gothlit November sort of gets you into that frame of mind quite nicely. So, sort of that, I guess. Number 3, are there any new releases you're still waiting for? Yes, there are many. So I've pre-ordered several books and several decks, because I'm ridiculous. So Can't Run, Can't Hide by Yrsa Sigurdardottir. She is one of my favorite mystery thriller writers. And her standalones are my favorite because they're the most atmospheric. She's got a couple series that are more like crime procedural-ish. Still very good though. And then I've got on the pre-order list The Buffalo Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones. I'm not a huge horror reader, but I like his writing, and I didn't read that trilogy, the slasher trilogy, because that's too much blood and guts everywhere for me. And this one might be too, but the premise is just too interesting to not give it a go. The Grey Wolf by Louise Penny, which I know is technically out now, but I've ordered the paperback because I don't like hardcovers most of the time. And I've got the rest of her books in paperback, so I'll add it to my collection. The Bewitching by Silvia Moreno-Garcia sounds super fun. The Devil's Ointment, A History of Unguents in European Magic and Witchcraft by Corinne sounds right up my alley. And Milk Dust and Dreaming Bread, Reviving Scottish Folk Belief by Scott Richardson-Read. I'll list all these books below in case you're interested or whatever. That was a Kickstarter one, which I've never done with books on Kickstarter before, but yeah, so that one wasn't cheap, but there are so few like reliable sources of information on Scottish folk traditions that I had to give it a go. The decks, so I've pre-ordered Onasa House's 8th edition of her tarot. You can get them used, but the resale market is bananas. I don't know who. Some people have way more disposable income than I do. Flowers from Your Shadow was a Kickstarter by Jess McCarran. My Friend Fire was another Kickstarter by Mary in the Sky. She did the Gentle Tarot, which is my all-time favorite. So I was very excited, excuse me, about My Friend Fire. Which one has just closed? The Brady Tarot. Today? Is it done today as I'm filming this? I don't know when this video is actually going to go up, but I think it's closed now. And When Olga Speaks by Sasha Lopez is closed at the end of the month. So those are the 5 that I've like either pre-ordered or backed to Kickstarter for. And now I can lay off the book and deck buying, for goodness sake. But some of these were too good to pass up, and some of them only come around every so often. And the tarot resale market is absolutely nuts, so I don't want to have to deal with that. What are the books you want to read before the end of the year? So I've got several. I started this yesterday, but I'm only yay far in. I don't know, 40, 50 pages, something like that. Yeah, 43. This is Pine by Francine Toon, which is set in rural Scotland in the Highlands. In a community where daughters rebel, men quietly rage, mysteries like these are not out of the ordinary. Lauren looks for answers in her tarot cards, hoping she might be able to read her father's turbulent mind, etc., etc. Brilliantly captures the wildness of rural childhood and the intensity of small-town claustrophobia. Great. Uniting the chill of the modern Gothic with the pulse of a thriller. There are some like witchy magic things, so her mother is not in the picture. I can't remember if they said if she's died or just left. I think she's just left. But she was like sort of witchy, which is cool. So her daughter does some of those sorts of things every now and again as well. And they've gone trick-or-treating and met a mysterious woman who the men and boys can't seem to remember, which is weird. So that's as far as I've gotten. I also started reading, and I'm yay far in, The Cambridge Companion to the Brontes, because I read The Cambridge Companion to Gothic Fiction, which was so much fun, and I learned a lot. So I got this one, which is a bunch of essays about the Brontes. So I've read the intro, the Haworth, I never know if I'm saying that properly, context, the Bronte Juvenilia chapter, and now I'm onto the poetry, and I'm partway through that. And then they've got 3 different sections on the different sort of stages that when the different books were published. And then there are a few essays at the end, like women writers, the Brontes and religion, the Bronte myth, something else, ideology, personality, and the Bronte characters. So yes, please. I love the Brontes. They're some of my all-time favorite writers, and I've read several books just about their family life, and their imaginative worlds are, I love them so much. I also got Polar Horrors, Strange Tales from the World's End. I don't know if I'll get to this before the end of the year. I might do, but I might not. But even if I don't, it'll be fine for January and February. But it's basically horror, terror sort of stories in cold, icy places on either of the poles. So some of them are more classic authors. So you've got Arthur Conan Doyle in here. And who is the other name I recognized? Can't find it now. But there are a bunch of people I don't recognize. And I think some of them are a bit newer. So it'll be an interesting mix, and maybe I'll discover new authors that I really like. Here's hoping. I have started this. I started this during Gothlit November. This is Neige de l'Entreprise, Moon of the Crusted Snow by Wapgeshe Grice. And I love that book in English, so I'm practicing my French, but I'm very slow. Oh yeah, I'm rereading Petra by Red Butter. It's a modern standard Arabic reader. It's like a graded reader. And I suck at it, but it's fun. So for the MENA challenge, the Middle East and North Africa challenge that I tend to participate in most years, I've got 2 more books to read. One is Woman, Life, Freedom, and I don't think this will take very long because it's like mixed media and essays and poetry and interviews and photography and art and all sorts of different things. I could also just show you, that'll be fun. So I don't think it'll take super long to get through, but it sounds very interesting. And that is a movement I can definitely get behind. And then I've got A History of Saudi Arabia by Madawi al-Rashid, which she is a senior lecturer in social anthropology in King's College. And first of all, histories by women are harder to find than histories by men. And second of all, histories about Middle Eastern countries that you could find in English are usually written by Europeans or Americans. So it's nice to find somebody who might, and now I have not read this yet, so this is all presumption on my part, but might understand more of the culture and the cultural context than Westerners. So we'll see. So those are my, and Les Deux Tours, the Two Towers. I'm listening to the audiobook of the Two Towers again in French as well, and I can go faster a bit with audiobooks, even though I understand less than I do when I'm reading a physical book in French, but anyway, that's that. There are really no other decks that I want to use before the end of the year other than more of the Tarot of the Abyss and the Wisdom of the Kalea. Probably I'll use more of those two because those are sort of my winter. That's my winter, I don't know, tradition's not really right. Ritual? I don't know what quite the right word is for that. Is there a book you think could still shock you and become your favorite book of the year? I mean, I don't think it would shock me, but the Cambridge Companion to the Brontes could become my favorite book of the year. That could be easily done. And the Wisdom of the Kalea could become my favorite deck of the year. Or the Gothic Tarot. I mean, I'm really enjoying that one too. So, I mean, I wouldn't be exactly shocked with any of those potential outcomes. But yes, they could happen. And the last question is, have you started making reading plans for next year? Yes, sorta. Yes. I mean, they're not definite plans, but they're plans. So one of the things I want to do is read more off my bookshelf. For goodness sake, it's gotten ridiculous. Also, I live in a little apartment. Like, it's not, I don't have endless amounts of room for all the books I might like, so I've got to get rid of some of them at some point. So I've got a container. This used to be a candle, a maple syrup scented candle because I'm Canadian and ridiculous. And some sticky notes. And I think I'm going to try, at least I'm toying with the idea of doing what other people do where you read it or unhaul it and just writing a bunch of books you want to get to on sticky notes and putting them in a jar, because there are some on my TBR shelves where I don't have like a priority of what gets read first. I just need to get to them already, for goodness sake. So I'm not going to put in ones for the Read Around the World challenge because I want to be able to choose those separately. But there are a bunch of other books that I just kind of want to get to that I might do that for. We will see. Speaking of, the Read Around the World challenge, I think will be probably my main focus next year. I don't think I can finish it next year, but I think I could probably finish it the year after next. So I want to make good progress next year. Maybe I'll finish, I can finish South America next year. I finished Asia this year, so I can finish South America. And if I could finish Africa and the Pacific Islands next year, and then just have the Caribbean, Central America, and Europe to finish the year after, that seems possible. I mean, I don't know. It's a bit ambitious, so it might not happen, but it could be fun. There's a Goodreads group as well for Middle Eastern, North African reads that I participate in sometimes, like almost every year, but not quite. So I might do that again, because I have missed, like, I've enjoyed reading around the world, but my favorite places to read books from the Middle Eastern countries, and I've sort of missed doing that as I've been reading books from other countries, so we'll see. Gothlit November, if Rachel and Bailey do that again, I will do that again, because seriously, it's so much fun. I do need to chill on the book buying and the deck buying, because good lord, I have enough books to last me for years on my shelves. Yeah, I need to do something about that. I do want to finish Ulysses next year. I'm listening to it and reading it simultaneously, but only in small segments as I go through a podcast where he reads parts of it and then goes through all the allusions. So it takes a long time to get through if you're not doing it that way. If you're just straight reading it, it takes a long time. So, but I'd like to finish that next year, because I do have, what other apparently difficult book do I have? Gravity's Rainbow. So I don't know if I'll get to that next year. It might be the year after, but there are only so many like legendarily difficult books that I want to read at the same time. I do have a book of sonnets that I want to read more, because I started writing some this year and it's fun, like not for publication, just for myself. And I'd like to do more of that. And then the decks I want to use before the end of the year. Let me get the books out of the way. I want to use the Wild Woman Oracle, because this is the trouble with Dark Winter decks. If I can get it to with no glare, maybe, because it's beautiful. I love the artwork of this. It shows up much better in person than it's showing. It looks darker. Yeah, I think that's a bit better. Maybe you can sort of see, yeah, something like that. It's a lot of fun, but I don't use it very often. And then there are a couple other, these are all oracles that I might use with the Tarot de Passage Intérieur. This is the Soul Mirror Oracle, and I don't think I've used either of these since probably last February or January maybe, because they're very wintry to me. And just, it would feel weird for some reason to use them in the summer. Like, not that you couldn't, because of course you can use whatever you want, whenever you want. But they just seem particularly wintry to me. And then this is the Death Doula Oracle. So this would be the last of the decks. I don't think I'll get to either of these this month, because Christmas and holiday season and work is ridiculous. I'm going home and I have way too many social events on the agenda already. It's like I'm looking forward to it, but also I'm already anticipating the exhaustion. So it might be all I can do to cope with all of that. So we'll see. Anyway, that's my sort of year-end book and tarot tags. I'll do in January sometime, once the year's like actually over. I've got a list of my favorite tarot decks that I've used this year and my favorite books that I've read this year. So I'll make some videos about that, I think. But yeah, that's it for now. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.